You're watching CNN. I'm Brooke Baldwin. The Baltimore Police Department already under fire for his alleged role in April's death of Freddie Gray. Now more controversy in this city. This department now investigating in the wake of this questionable sign discovered inside one of these prisoner transport vans. And you see on the inside of the door, it reads, "Enjoy your ride, 'cause we sure will." This photo is now circulating, and some, including police officials, are calling the wording, and I quote, "concerning and unacceptable." Listen, you know the story about Freddie Gray. He suffered that critical neck injury after being left handcuffed and shackled in the back of a van similar to this one that made several stops before medics finally were able to treat him. He died later at the hospital. Joining me now, former DEA agent in firearms and Homeland Security expert David Katz, and CNN legal analyst Philip Holloway, a criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. So, gentlemen, welcome to both of you. And David Katz, just as the former I look at you, all things law enforcement here. You know this is absolutely absurd and unacceptable.
It's stupid. It's juvenile, and it's worst of all, it's unprofessional. So we still do a lot of training with law enforcement officers, and I always stress to people, in addition to doing the right thing, of course, you have to look good and sound good and maintain your professional demeanor at all times. This is not high school, so it is unprofessional. I'm sure it was not post Freddie Gray.
We don't know, by the way. Let's be crystal clear. We don't know. I can't say for sure this is the same van. We don't know when the sign was placed, before or after, but still the fact that it exists, the photo was taken, it's obviously being circulated. And following up with you, I'm curious, just within circles of law enforcement, because clearly the sign is on the inside of the door. This is not for the public to see. This is for those who are transported to see. Do some officers try to intimidate or mess with people they arrest?
Some do. Most do not. Most cops are just very, very basic. You're under arrest. This is what you need to do while you're being transported. Do it. If you're paying attention, if you're listening, if you're not resisting arrest, 99.99% of the time, you are not going to have any difficulty at all getting to either to court or to whatever holding area you're going to be in. There are a few. Listen, you get bullies in every profession for sure. This is just one. It's unnecessary and unprofessional, and I find it inappropriate.
This is obviously, Philip, a particularly sensitive sign, given what we know about Freddie Gray. Death was ruled a homicide. Was stopped multiple times and no aid rendered until 42 minutes or so later. Could this sign at all be brought in to this criminal case involving these 6 police officers who were charged in that death?
Well, first off, good afternoon, Brooks. Always nice to see you. It's not, however, nice to see a sign like this. And yes, I do think that it is possible that this sign, if nothing else, will shed some light into what is sometimes referred to as this us against them mentality that sometimes dangerously creeps into police culture and police society. It's the idea that we as police officers are the good guys, and the citizens that we're supposed to be serving are either bad guys or are probably going to be bad guys, and so that somehow gives us license to do whatever we want with you in any way that we want to.
But be specific, Philip. I mean, when you say it could shed some light, how could it be introduced as part of any of these trials regarding these 6 officers? Again, we don't know when this sticker was placed on the inside of the door, and we don't know which van it was in.
No, if this was in the actual van that Freddie Gray died in, of course it would be a bombshell. But it demonstrates this police subculture, and the way that Freddie Gray was treated or mistreated, as it were, in the back of that van is going to be key, and it is the intention of the officers. It's what's in their mind at the time they were transporting him. That is what is going to be key and what is going to be relevant in the Freddie Gray case. And if this is the mindset of officers who are transporting people to jail, it's outrageous. And I can't for the life of me imagine why anyone would take any pleasure out of taking someone to jail. It's fine to be proud of a job well done if you do a great job as a police officer, that's fine. But you don't take pleasure in taking someone to jail. It's just not right.
David Katz, looking at you, shaking your head.
Yeah, okay. First of all, there are a lot of times that you do take a lot of pleasure bringing someone to jail. You take a rapist off the street. You take a pedophile into custody. You do something that's beneficial to the neighborhood. You get a little bit of pleasure taking that person off the street. The police officers are not, as a general rule, possessed with this, as you call it, the us versus them mentality. Are there some? Sure there are. But just as valid is the concern that we in law enforcement have in the neighborhoods of the other side of the coin, the people, the criminals, the thugs, the people on the street you deal with every day, not the community, not the folks in the community who are glad you're there, the ones who are not glad that you're there, the ones who are trying to shoot you or harm you, the ones who resist arrest. So there are two sides of the coin, and for the most part, the men and women of law enforcement are doing a great job dealing with it.
Well,
Philip, I want you to respond.
I've arrested people, I have prosecuted people and sent them to prison for some of the crimes he just talked about. Yes, I felt a sense of satisfaction for a job well done, but I took no pleasure in having to do it. This sign shows that somebody takes pleasure out of taking away someone else's liberty. When I was a prosecutor and sent someone to prison for doing horrific things, I felt awful for the families of the individuals who suffered as victims of the crimes, as well as the families of those who had to go to prison. We did a good job, we did what we had to do, but I took no pleasure in it, and to think that a police officer takes pleasure out of transporting someone to jail, I find reprehensible.
I think you're really overreaching on that. I think it's sophomoric, juvenile, childish, and unprofessional, but I don't think you make the leap saying, well, obviously someone's taking pleasure. It's a stupid thing to put in the van.
Not to mention, optically, for those inside of Baltimore and outside, when we talk so much about how the city has such a need to bridge, clearly, this crevasse between police and community, this doesn't make it better.
Absolutely, you're correct
This
about that.
doesn't make it better.
100% right.
David Katz and Philip Holloway, thank you both very much.
Thanks,
Thank you.